Birth and death, who are we and why are we here? Those are the questions that have always plagued me. I'm always interested in new ways to portray that. I am a storyteller and I love stories. If something really touches me, I have to process it and get it out by doing a piece. I try to express the spirit world in my work. I believe that we're much more than our physical bodies. I'm an artist that works with glass, but I'm self-taught. And my pieces, they're not pristine. Most glass artists make work that looks like it's descended right from heaven. And my pieces are like outsider art. You can kind of see the fingerprints and the mistakes and, but I feel like that's my energy in there, and it's part of what makes my work me. Sometimes the whole piece can break apart when I take the heads off. The clay face on this piece has already been fired. Clay is not compatible with glass. A lot of people think I somehow have found a magical way to fire them together, but no. I make the heads first, and then I build my piece with warmed beeswax. Everything in wax is going to be cast glass. I made this piece because no matter how old they are, you always worry about your children. So you're always kind of carrying their weight with you, even though my children are kind of grown now. I don't think I'm ever going to stop. Oops, see, there goes an ear, which will have to be glued on later. I have a lot of children in my pieces. I think that they represent vulnerability. When I had my actual children, they were so entertaining that they were a source of ideas. And I'm still processing, even though it's 13 years later for the twins, 17 for Sophie. I think I'm still processing the fact that I'm somebody's mother. Like wow. I had been working with ceramics. I started feeling like I just had worked myself into a corner with what I was doing. So I kind of went into a creative crisis. I took a glass casting class, and I knew nothing about glass except that I didn't like it because it was so shiny. Within about an hour of taking that workshop, I realized that glass can do everything that clay can, but it transmits light. It had so much potential. Ideas are like dreams. It's almost like there's energy in the piece and we're absorbing it. Hey, Alice, put an apron on?
Yes.
Your hands are good?
I think so.
Put that over your head. I'll take what I had sculpted and wax it up to my studio. I'll make a mold from a mixture of casting plaster, silica powder, and talc. I'll pat it all over the wax. I'll end up with a mold with a flat bottom, which is rested on a Vaseline-covered surface. Once that's set, I'll flip it over, and it will have an opening where I can steam the wax out. The lost wax process used in jewelry is very similar. Once the wax is out, I'll have a mold with a concavity of the figure, like a ghostly presence, the shape of what I had sculpted in wax. Hey, would you do me a favor and put some of those little molds in water so when I demold, they won't break?
Yeah.
Robert and I met at summer camp when we were 14, and then we reunited in New York City 15 years later. Very Harry met Sally, kind of. We have done a number of pieces together. He understands the annealing schedule. He's also really good at providing a separate perspective.
I was doing children's books, but meanwhile, I was helping Christina with her work. We can't help but be influenced by each other, and we definitely support each other tremendously.
I work with cold glass. We break the glass up with a hammer, and then we fill the molds with chunks of glass, and then we'll put it in the kiln. The glass will melt, and as it goes lower and sinks into the mold, we'll have to feed more chunks of glass into the mold until the surface is level. I have a sense of how I want the colors to be, but there's always the element of surprise because the glass flows.
We make sure that the glass is really penetrated into all the crevices and fingers or whatever. And then we drop the kiln quickly down to the annealing temperature. For this particular glass, it's 900 degrees.
The jacket was smoking.
Yeah, you gotta do it fast. The whole annealing process might take 2 days, but for some of the thicker pieces, it'll take maybe 2 to 3 weeks or longer.
Once the annealing's finished, it will be a glass sculpture with the mold around. And then I soak it in water and I take a hammer and a chisel. I break off the plaster. It's very easy to snap off a foot or an arm. And so sometimes the only thing I can do is just refire the whole thing, start all over. The pieces don't come out nice and smooth. They come out with like sharp shards that can cut your hands. So I'll sand the roughness using diamond grit pads. Once I'm finished polishing it, I can glue the ceramic to the glass, and then I add another layer of narrative to the sculptures by painting on them. I'm the happiest when I'm in nature, being in the woods, and that feeling of just being consumed by nature. Birds and insects, they're a metaphor for irrepressible life force. You can't control them or contain them. My work is very much about that feeling of being safe in nature and nurtured. We had lived in New York City for 7 years and came out here to visit a friend, and it was like I just was taken over by nature. Vegetables grew out of the ground, and there were blue herons and bald eagles, and it just, I realized I had to. We found this little place, and it took about 2 years for the midnight panic attacks to subside because we moved out here without work, without friends, and it was just sort of nature. Now it's been over 20 years, and we have a really good system of friends, and it's beautiful. We have 8 cats, 2 dogs, a snake named Lucy, and a mean pet goose.
That cat was our sweetest cat.
I think our kids do think that we're different. Being out here in the middle of nowhere, I guess we might stand out a little bit. Oh, I love your daikon salad. We made a decision to no longer eat animals. So when I go shopping with my kids, they're like, Mom, look at your shopping cart, because it's all vegetables. She's like, it's embarrassing. I think they're equal parts embarrassed, mortified, but proud of us too, you know. The fire started, we don't really know. We think it was an electrical issue. The whole studio was gone, most of the trees, and then there was the fear that it was going to spread to the house and the barn. I can still remember the sound of my sculptures exploding. It sounded like chandeliers being dropped on the ground. The fire wiped away our history. My grandparents' paintings and drawings, things I'd done as a child, 20,000 of my husband's children's books that he'd written and illustrated. And we weren't covered by insurance. And then we got a call from the Craft Emergency Relief Fund for Artists. SURF called me up and they said, we want to send you a check. And I said, but I haven't applied. And they said, we don't care. So I was able to keep working, which was wonderful.
Cornelia?
Hi. It's so nice to finally meet you. This is the studio that you helped build. Thank you so much for that grant.
At SURF Plus, we help artists out when they have crises in their lives.
Were you able to save a lot of pieces?
No,
after
none.
the fire?
Just
at
the
all.
heads,
Yeah.
because they're clay.
We're really looking at supporting career studio artists that don't have another safety net.
Your income is episodic. Your work doesn't come with benefits. You probably self-insure health insurance if you
Yes.
have it.
Yes.
You don't, accumulate vacation days or sick days. So all of
Right,
those
true.
things. There's kind of no safety net other than your community.
Here are a couple pieces that I have finished recently. I've just started exploring the idea of wall hanging pieces, so.
We can't fix everything, but we make an important difference for the artists in the community.
When you see everything wiped away, it's really easy to feel like I could just never do work again. It doesn't matter. But then I'd think, well, Cornelia thinks I'm special. So I did have that thought, you know, and I was after the fire, there was this liberating feeling of we're all okay. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was killed. I didn't lose my eyes. I lost stuff. I can always make more work. My work is my gift to the world, is what gives me joy and what lights me up. And whether it's good or not, whether I'm ordinary or special, that doesn't really matter. It's just making it. I'm just gonna start over. I would start over again and again if I had to. This is not the end of the story. I'm just beginning.